There's also further bid consultancy work, which has come out partly because of the extended duration of the project, but also that the Football Foundation have changed their community engagement criteria. Up at Holmes Farm, and Crest Nicholson requires some mechanical and electrical engineering consultancy to feed into their figures for when they're getting quotes from the network operators for the different services up at the site. So there are 3 bids for this work, which you can see attached to this report, and I've recommended that we just go for the cheapest one of those reports, because they always do basically the same thing. And all the recommendations are on page 52, section 7.
Oh, thank you, Ken.
I fully support all the recommendations. Still frustrating. Why are SODC demanding so much of an outline plan application? I guess whether we do it now or later doesn't matter if we need to do them for the final. But is it normal to have to do all the newts and the bats and everything?
I think they're very conscious that they're under obligations as a local authority to make sure that
now and then either. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Of course, the greater the amount that goes into the outline application, the less we need to do.
Yeah, no, it's just semantics. Yeah.
I have 3 questions. The first is that in the Boddington quotation, it talks about 30 residential units. In 2.1, it talks about 50. That's the first question, and I'm not certain which is which. And it is the Boddington quotation depending on 30. The next question is just a reference. You're talking about replacement clubhouse for hockey and the football. Will there be a requirement for a temporary clubhouse, or will you be building it before you move out? And the last question is one that I don't have a clue about, but if it's a 3G artificial pitch, is that suitable for hockey? And I don't know
now. Okay. So
good questions.
Yeah. I'm not sure where Boddington's have put 30 units, but it is 50.
I didn't read that this out.
It may have been, there may be some confusion. The original
it says 1.0. It talks about 30 residential units.
Right. It was, yeah, that's
the original neighbourhood plan was for 30, and the new neighbourhood plan says 50.
So they never worked on one for 30. So it's a typo. But that's a typo, it is 50. As per the neighbourhood plan. With regard to the clubhouse, my understanding is that the current view, depending how finances work out for the council, is that the clubhouse will be built before the clubs were moved over.
Okay.
But there's still some way of knowing where we go on that.
That's always been the plan. Yes.
And with regard to 3G pitch, no, I don't think it's suitable for hockey because it's a rubber crumb rather than being sand based. So whilst you can play football on the sand based pitch, the rubber crumb 3G pitch is better for football, but not suitable for hockey.
So will there be a pitch for hockey?
They'll get more use on the Astro because AFC Henley will move more of their playing to the 3D.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Any other questions? That's fine.
Vote we go for everyone. I'll say we go for recommendation 7, 1, 2, and 3 as written.
Everyone's happy to take them all together, then yeah, that's fine. Okay, any more comments or questions or discussion what's made? Okay, all those in favour of that? Right, thank you very much, Kath.
Thanks, councillors.
I think Kath's got another meeting to go to, that's why she's ready. Well,
More exciting than this.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That story.
okay,
I'm supposed to be at that one in the middle, I think, actually.
item number 6B, which is the AstroTurf sinking fund. That's on page 75. So the picture we've just been talking about, the existing AstroTurf is something that we set aside a sum of 20,000 currently.
It is,
20,000 currently. And there's the repairs.
no, 16,600.
Right. And we're getting towards the point where we're going to have to start looking at replacing the pitch, but not yet. But we, in order to make sure that we do, when we do need to replace it, we have the costs covered by our reserves. We're going to take a big hit on the on 1 year in the accounts. We changed the sinking fund to 25,000 from next financial year. And the report is on page 75 for that. That's all we're doing here, is we're setting aside in reserves. So, finally, the report.
Very simple.
Oh yes, there it is. So it's 5.2. No, it's not. It's not. Page 75, is it?
Very simple. I've 5.2C.
Page 77 is the recommendation.
I said 5.2.
Oh yes, it's part C. Yes. Okay. So this is a sort of a sensible precautionary recommendation.
This was discussed at RNA recently as well. It's all fairly sensible and perhaps proposed.
Casper, you?
Yeah, happy second. I was just gonna make one question. Obviously, it's only 2 to 3 years till we potentially need to replace it. Seeing how long the Football Foundation or that is hoping to do, is it worth starting maybe discussions with the National Hockey Association to see whether they're putting anything towards a new pitch, or if there's the grants available and how we would go about writing application for those things?
Maybe not. I don't think we have the capacity to start looking at that at the moment, and we do have some like that in it.
Yeah.
But no, that's a good point.
Yeah. I was going to second that. It's good.
Okay, were you proposing just 5.2C, or were you proposing A and B as well?
A and B as well.
Yeah, okay.
No, we just need 5.2C.
You don't want A, B, and C?
No, A and B has already been resolved by RNA.
Oh,
Oh, yes.
right. Okay, yes. Yes, I managed to confuse myself repeatedly by taking the report as, yeah, okay, so 5.2C, that we thought we actually need to do as in 6B of the agenda. Okay, so we have a proposal for 5.2C. All those in favour of that? Thank you. Parks equipment, to approve the hiring of £1,850 from capital to the Parks Depot. Can you talk through this briefly?
Very briefly. So we had 2 break-ins in 2022. One where equipment was taken and qualified, another one where one in 2022 where equipment qualified was taken, 2 in 23, one where a tractor was taken and equipment was taken again. On the back of that, our insurers are not insuring the depot for theft. It doesn't affect our vehicles, which come under a separate policy, but it does mean any damage caused by theft and any theft of any equipment from the workshop would not be covered. We have installed bollards at the front to stop it being rammed. We have installed CCTV, a smoke cloak as well. So if the alarm is set off, then it will fill in the smoke. That still didn't deter them at the last time. And so the last option is to install a strong room where basically all the equipment is kept. It's basically a container which has 3 levels of security in order to be able to get into. So it's even more secure, and all the equipment would go into there to, and so we managed to get the container for 1,950, so which is pretty good value. The total cost of the equipment which was taken last time was about 15,000, and that's what we've been refunded. We've managed to source the replacement equipment for only 11,500. So there will be a slight net gain to the council as a result of that. So this is basically to ask for the strong room, i.e. the container, to be divided from revenue to capital expenditure, and to approve the 11,500 for the replacement equipment. So things like chainsaws, trimmers, that sort of thing.
Will the strong room be movable once when the Park Depot moves in a year or two?
Indeed, it will. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Will it reinstate the insurance theft, or is that something we need to still look into?
So they aren't this year. Whether or not they would reconsider it next year or in following years, if there aren't any further incidents, then we'll review it on a yearly basis.
Okay, thank you.
Not immediately. So. Okay, so I propose that we do both those things, and they're in 6C the agenda. Seconder, yeah, Councillor Plan. Any comment? All those in favour? Okay, thank you. First copy to approve a new 5-year lease. The comparison of 3 offers on page 79.
Both copies are more expensive than I realised.
Well, it has to be fairly heavy duty because it gets a lot of use, and also when it breaks down, even in these electronic days, the council business is slowed down in these circumstances. So there's a simple recommendation here. You don't speak to unless you want to.
It's pretty tedious. That's
I'm
just
supposed to be going to recommendation.
I have a question.
A non-paper, I suppose.
Sorry.
Point 2.2, there's an instant comment which says in-house printing has reduced in recent years and will continue to do so. Why? And then secondly, do you cover at-home printing for people who are not working in the office? So first of all, why is it reducing?
It's reducing because we are trying to print less paper. For example, councillors just getting agendas digitally rather than paper copies, and that reduces postage as well. We also do less in-house printing for things like programmes for Remembrance Sunday, rather than member of staff standing over the printer and folding them, stapling. Actually, it's much quicker and simpler and higher quality to get it done online. So those are probably the two main reasons. And also, with a lot more hybrid working as well, people don't tend to accumulate paper in the office in paper files because they're not going to transport them with them when they work from home, things like that.
So if you're anticipating reducing it or continue to reduce it, is the photocopy of it and printer you're talking about, is that on the basis of current needs or going forward?
Current and future needs. Although it's reducing, the specification of what we need doesn't really change. Actually, it's also the scanning element of it, which is equally as important. Having good being able to scan in is really crucial. So the specification that we need doesn't change, even if our usage is reducing.
What sort of length of period is the lifetime of such a photocopy?
I think that our current photocopy could carry on for another 3-4 years, whatever. I think it's more a case of the amount of downtime that you then get if it does start breaking down, and reliability issues. And if a brand new replacement isn't going to be any more expensive than carrying on with the current one, which it isn't, then it makes sense to go for a new one.
Yeah, the reason I was asking is that, following on from Tony's question, is if we do manage to significantly reduce our, the amount of printing that we do, maybe our, the machine will then be, respected, but then it'll last longer, I suppose. Would be the reason. So if our needs are reduced, the capacity is given 3.1, then we'll simply get a longer life out of our system. So we have a proposal, I think, second was made. All's in favour of that proposal? Okay, we go to A. Okay.
Paperless council.
Yes, right, so item 7, next year's budget, 2024-2025 budget. So a lot of this some of it has come out of the value for money meeting that we approved earlier. So I suppose, so firstly is, we are currently looking at a total deficit of 53,000 on the current budget, which is
Disappointing.
which is I hope we're going to try and do better than that. And the other thing to realise is that these figures assume an increase in the precept of 6.3%, which at the time of the value for money meeting was the rate of CPIH inflation. But as was explained in our training the other day, I'm sure you remember, is that the way we should be doing the budgets is that we look at our expenditure and our income, and then we set the precept. So what we've got here is an assumption of what the precept increase is going to be. It's not necessarily our plan, and we have to put in some sort of figure in order to get a potential deficit. That if we want to achieve a balanced budget, then we have to either find £53,000 of reduced expenditure or £53,000 of increased income. We need to increase our precept increase.
So Ian, I think the budget we've got here looks like we should make a surplus of £130.
Oh,
Yes, you look at the year-end forecast.
Look at the year-end forecast.
Sorry, apologies, it is quite small. I would recommend looking at the digital where you can enlarge it.
Thank you.
And for what it's worth, CPI, it's still 6.3.
Is it still? Yeah.
Next
okay.
figure's out in a week's time.
So where's the 130 figure there? I must have misread this.
At the bottom, there.
Oh, I see. Oh, right, okay, yes. Yes, that is, so it's £130.
£130.
Yes, I thought you said 130,000.
Oh,
I
that
heard you as well.
It is helped by the recreation and amenities parks comparison between the 2 years going up by 28-fold. Which is quite a lot.
Oh, so the again, Sally.
If you look at on the page 83, it has recreation amenities parks. It's £1,500 year-end forecast and £56,000 budget forecast.
Yeah, sorry, sure, not to respond to that.
Indeed, that comes from two places. The first is looking at income from Jubilee Park, which is subject to a report, which will probably be going to RNA as soon as possible to revise the pricing on the AstroTurf. The second one is also reviewing the mooring income and assuming a change on how we charge. At the moment we don't charge on red boards, and this would recommend that we would start charging, and so that's where you've got. So that combined would see an increase of 44, 59-ish.
Oh, that was almost a deficit. God.
Yeah.
Well, we're not there yet, but this is just the current. So we're in. We've got another cycle of another cycle to go yet.
Can I just make one point, Chair? Did you notice in the CAB report that the number one cause for debt is council tax. By some way,
91% or something, wasn't it?
from number one.
Debt in the
cause of
population,
debt.
above and beyond smoking, petrol, shopping and iPhones.
Well, the number one reason that people go see.
No, it's the one thing they don't pay.
Oh, yeah, no, fine, yeah. That's a whole different thing to the number one cause of debt.
was-
That's £12
I didn't
a
notice
year.
that is an interesting point.
I was quite taken with that. I mean, because you know, it's already on your taxed income, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
your income, your tax, NI, and then you've got another tax to pay, which is your council tax.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth remembering that average Bandy council tax for Henley is about £1,300, I think, and of which about 110 is town council. Yeah, council tax, but it's still £110 that people have to find.
Well, a large proportion of that's social care. Some 60% of total council tax is social care, so people don't contribute to this.
Yeah, most of it is the county council, most of that is, some of that's education, some of it's some of it's highways, but yes, council, social care is very high amount.
So Sharon, can I ask, is
Adult
this,
social care.
the review of charging on red pauses included, is that also including the amount for, or the additional amount for regatta and festival that was being discussed in the value for money group?
No, it doesn't include that
Okay.
at present.
I know there's something that Councillor, you've taking an interest in our mooring charges, and it's clear that the town clerk is still considering the matter. Is that something that you, town clerk, you feel you've got enough input from on the options that are reviewing our charges?
Yes, I was just waiting on information from the EA on the number of red boards historically over the past 2 years to do some better calculations on it. On the charging during the regatta period, I think that will need a bit more consultation on rates and things like that, and so on. But that report should be ready to go to RNA shortly.
Right. Okay. Of course, you'll be able to see that. Okay.
One
That's helpful.
last question regarding the town and community. In the last town and community meeting, the town centre manager talked about the increases for market events of 11% for one store, down to about 9% for 3 stores. And under the market income, it says that it's now 5%. Is that the current position?
That is a very good point. No, that should be that note should say assuming a 10% increase. So it'd be so yes, so we'd be looking at about £5,000 per year additional from the increase in market fees, plus perhaps another 5,000 from occasional markets at places like Singles Park during the regatta.
A question then, how do we justify 10% increase when the price inflation is going down?
I would say the details of that are in the report that was considered by TNC and approved that. So you can look at the report there, but it was discussed and approved by TNC at the last meeting.
It wasn't discussed. It was accepted because the town centre manager said this is what it is. But I'm sorry.
Well, the town community will be looking at the budget figures in its next meeting, and they will be available for discussion. And I suggest that if you've got questions about why that 10% figure has been arrived at, raise it with the town centre manager in advance, preferably, so that the figures can come and be in a way that's likely to be accepted.
Also, just for notes, if there's a recommendation on the agenda that's come from a staff member, you're more than welcome to question it at the time. It doesn't have to be that case. So if you did come through saying that's what it should be, you're more than welcome to actually
I
disagree.
did ask the question.
But you see, you can still continue to do that. But Councillor Governor, you've been waiting patiently. Sorry, can I just stop you, Stefan? Yeah, sorry.
On the draft minutes for that meeting, item 48, resolved that the draft budget figures be noted and the market score rate to be increased as per the recommendation of the report to take effect from the 1st of April 2024.
So, so the normal procedure has gone through, but the budget, has another cycle to go. A further discussion can, is intended to happen. That's why we have the extra cycle. Okay. Sorry, Councillor
It was
Governor.
really a question just for my own education, really. To do with precept, which of course we shouldn't be discussing now, but we are. Precept assumes 6.2% increase, which is about £8. How much does that generate on the budget? 12,000.
Well, if you look at the figures on page 83, the precept has gone from 730 to 792 as a result of that 6.3% increase.
Something similar.
60 grand is 6%.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Plus the tax.
1%
Yeah,
is about
but it's plus the 2%,
Yeah.
assumed increase in the tax base. So we
Tax
don't have that figure yet.
Yeah.
And so the important thing is,
Roughly.
when we get that figure, which should be in the next few days, then that will change, the precept. The draft precept.
But you can see if we were to end up with a different calculation, this is, as you were hinting, this is illustrative based on certain presumption. You can flex that figure of 6.3% by putting through your calculator and work out how much changing that percentage figure up or down will change the precept income.
Good, thank you.
But 1% is about 1,000. That's a fair rule of thumb.
1% is about £10.
Yes.
Sorry, yes.
Okay, that's fine. I've got the base.
Use calculator, you won't
I've
get.
got the base figures in my brain now.
Yeah,
for the
okay.
other- for the next cycle. Thank
Okay,
you.
are there any more questions or comments on the, thank you for everything you've raised? Sure. Town clerk has been listening carefully. So, I suggest then we, just simply note that, note the current state of the budget, okay? Those in favour? Yeah, thank you. Item 8, the external audit report, on page 89.
Well done, team.
So there were a handful of minor comments, and one of which was shown to be incorrect in the end. Otherwise, you've got any comments that you want to add to the report? I think you made clear your responses to the auditors' points raised. What either would happen or has happened.
Certainly, I don't have anything to add unless anybody has any questions.
Yeah, it's basically a very successful report, a handful of minor comments, I think. So congratulations to the officers and staff for going through that. Auditors like to find things. So it's not unusual that they have some comment. Okay, can we note the report and that the specific response about the investments which was made at the top of page 91 of your agenda has been addressed? Yeah. I propose, what's in 5.1, and secondly, councillor Plum? Yes, certainly. Okay, all those in favour of it? Thank you. Yeah, so well done to all the staff for that. Exclusion of public and press. So the time has come to come out of open session and closed session to consider the public and press be excluded from the remainder of the meeting in accordance with the Public Bodies Definitions Meeting Act 1960. And publicity could be prejudicial to the public by reason of the confidential nature of the business. I so move.